Let's get after it. Daily trading recap for this Tuesday, the 14th of December, 2021. Just to go over some fundamentals, internals for the day, just to get us started for some housekeeping. SPY, little 0.69% day in the red. Just topping off after we had an attempt to try and reclaim all-time highs once again, but we're seeing a little pullback off of that 470 level area, so we'll see where we go from here. Market internals for dollar volume as of hour and a half after the close. NASDAQ $266 billion volume, IC $318 billion volume, OTCs $2.2 billion volume. Nothing so crazy. OTCs are on the low side for dollar volume wise, but nothing crazy in that dollar volume to kind of attribute to what we were seeing, or what I was seeing in the afternoon, of a lot less action, price action, volume, a lot more dojis that I was seeing on a lot of charts. Just a lot of action, not a lot of fall off in volatility and price movement that way, and not a lot of red names posting in the afternoon in that millionaire chat. The same thing too, kind of as a subliminal indicator of the same thing, that, gosh, shoot, it's still morning sessions for right now are still the hottest times to be a part of. So we'll continue to go on that as long as the market is continuing to say that point. Today for me, 3 for 4 on paper trades. Now I'm not even doing paper trades, but just small. I'm back in that smaller cash account position sizing, trading with a cash account. Slowly beginning to continually size up just a little bit more, back up to that $100 position size, $150 position size. Still in the realm of, okay, we're still paper trading. We are still not anywhere near ready to throw, to go into a full PDT account as of yet and continue to just go hard that way. I'm still very educational, experimental with a lot of what I'm doing, but continuing to fine tune a lot of that and get the experience under my belt, which I think is the biggest part for me, that I definitely need more of, and continue to detach myself from that emotion of money and just emotion in general too. And I think I'm continuing to build up more and more that, looking at this more of as a game, because that's what it is. And the moment that I so easily related to in this career of weightlifting and things I'm doing, but hearing the stories of the guys who are squatting the 900 pounds, who are squatting 1,000 pounds, that's not rational. And it's the same thing of, guys who are trading millions of dollars and swinging, how many crazy figures of dollar moves that just seem so absurd to think about, of the people who are working salary jobs in order to get that much money and trying to rationalize in that same thing. But like back to that squat example of, your body is literally screaming at you, why is this weight on my back? But it's that little voice in there, that's that limiter that you have to overcome in order to say, no, we're doing this, and just kind of denying reality for that moment, almost, of looking at the bigger, broader picture of what's happening, and living in that versus what is rational, what is best for your body, almost. Because it is best for your body to almost say, I don't want to lose money, right? It's, again, in the grand scheme of things, if we're looking at this in a general sense, it is best to not lose money. But the stock market doesn't care what is rational or what is correct. There's so many words to put on it, but yeah, those are the thoughts that just continue to go through my head, that it has to become a game. You can't attach weight to what the actual money is. You got to understand, you can't YOLO, you can't just go absurdly ludicrous, crazy, lose everything type of thing throw everything at every single trade. There's got to be a scaling process and a flow with how you're trading and what you're doing, in appreciation of what it is, but also in the same light of, you kind of got to disregard what money is and just understand that they are numbers on a screen. It's flashing red and green lights, and it's meant to play into your emotions. And as soon as you let it do that, that's when you lost. So continuing to build through that way, with that mentality on that. Let's get into the charts now after all that housekeeping. GRTX started off with a very nice mover on the day, very nice pre-market percentage move, off of some stupid whatever news this was. They announced primary endpoint met statistical significance and corrected top line of efficacy data of phase 3 Roman trial of AXXA, whatever the heck that means. All we know is 23 million floater. We had $800 million volume on the day, which was great to see. Over 600,000 trades on the day that I'm showing. They do have like $250 million in potential dilution through a shelf and an ATM. So just keeping those factors in line. And that's the same thing that I come to on this chart of, okay, on these first green days, how much weight are we taking into effect with all that dilution within like the first hour, that first prime hour of market open? And of course, looking at it on daily as well too. Huge gap down to fill. This is the biggest volume day in a long time. So it's just like, yes, that dilution, that overhead is there, but on one of these big key days, on a huge percentage move day, is it going to affect, is it going to come out to play within this first hour? Is it going to come out to play within the rest of the day? Like it showed here, like it's not going to be an afternoon play, but you could have a little morning volatility. You could see some retests of this 3.9 high. We could see some tests of $4, and then maybe it keels off. It's just so kind of up in the air of what it could or couldn't do, but certainly that would be felt through being in the trade during market hours of, okay, we are putting in the volume there, but it's just not wanting to grind higher anymore too. So that's where it's kind of felt, but it's being able to predict the future is what this entire goal of trading is. It's hard to do that preparatory wise in pre-market in just the normal scans beforehand of guessing where tops are, or just trying to plan out a trade plan of where you're looking to take profits or what this thing could potentially do. But it is just kind of, I think that's why I always go back to what my main feel for these style of trades or these type of pattern first screen day pattern trades are, is it's got to be a overall market sentiment of what the collective groups are doing in the past few trading days, past few trading weeks, of what they're saying they want to do. Because like in that hot 2020 market, if it's up over 10% in pre-market, just buy it, because it's going to go up another 1,000% in market hours, right? Versus where we're at now or anytime before that hot 2020 market is, okay, you definitely got to do some fundamental research. You got to do some technical analysis. You got to kind of pick your cards right. Maybe you pick the top right one day, or maybe you pick bottom ticket on one day as it's double bottoming. Brain's going everywhere with that, but I think it's just totally a overall market sentiment compared to trying to play this as an individual first screen day, looking solely at a fundamental analysis or a technical analysis to say, okay, it's in market hours, it's going to go X percentage move here, and then it's going to die off in the afternoon. I think it's just more of a feel of what they're going to say of, okay, yeah, after that first hour of market action, first hour and a half, it's pretty much done, and you're kind of guaranteed to see some drop off. And I'm saying guaranteed that it's going to drop off, not at precisely 10:45 Eastern Standard Time, it is going to drop off 5% from here, and you collect profits, and then you can short it 2 cents higher here. It doesn't follow a scientific rule. It's just it's guaranteed to drop off at some point. The same thing with that's all short theses, right? Oh, it's up too much, it's got to drop at some point. But developing the feel for where the market is and having the time in the trenches this way too is building that understanding of where are we at, how are things moving, how are things going that way too. So totally broad spectrum thought process on that, just for a thesis. But on the individual trade itself for me on this one, saw a nice little morning dump potential play for that pattern that I've built of looking at an entry here at the crack, the failure to maintain VWAP after the initial perk and spike, getting an entry here around anywhere around this 3.3 area to 3.2 area. We actually get 2 double tops, 2 rejections of VWAP, of it reclaiming VWAP. You get a nice cover opportunity at 2.8 there. And on this trade itself, I was actually in like 2 or 3 times before I actually picked this trade here, but it was within 1 cent. So I was kind of basing a reversal, not calling it a failed morning dump, but the reversal of the morning dump, that knowing this chart isn't just going to completely die off and continue to keep falling before market open for what the market sentiment has been saying in these past collective charts like this. But looking at, I was just kind of taking myself in and out on 1 cent losses here, 1 cent, 2 cent losses here, as I thought it was breaking lower, breaking 279. Okay, let's cut it here. We'll wait for a little better bottom. And finally, we did get what I should have been waiting for was the most obvious explanation of a reversal. When I was able to start actually recording the chart too for screen recording, we do get a little volume try to break to a new low of day, but then quick reversal off of that. So able to get an entry 281 there off of that. We grind a little bit higher, able to sell a little bit into that $3 level as it peels back a little bit off of that. Tries to maintain that $3 level again. We get another little perk above $3. I'm selling a little bit into 307-ish area there, and just kind of scaling out a little bit more, thinking, okay, that should have been the move there. That should have pushed us a little bit closer here. And these next few candles that are not getting us there to VWAP at least, and I'm looking for more of like 3.5 potentially before market open. As it's just not there, okay, let's take profits as they're there, not when we have to, thinking this thing could peel back, could rationally peel back easily a little bit more to this little bottom here around 2-ish area before market open, and still do whatever it want to do crazy for market hours. So for this pre-market trade, that the thesis wasn't really showing there. I was just taking profits. It wasn't a full, awesome, beautiful percentage trade, but there was money still there able to be taken. And I actually screwed it up for the shares that I had. I thought I was scaling out with this last trade, but it was actually the rest of my shares. I somehow switched it back. I didn't think I was going to scale out anymore. So I screwed up on that last exit. So I was out of the position. I was out of the trade on that last exit there, but I was kind of like, I know I would still be holding this one for how it was showing. It's still above my entry price. It's still above this low here. I definitely would have been cutting. So I'm thinking if it does show any amount of strength, I might be willing to get back in. So as we were building back above that $3 level, I thought, okay, I think it's there. I think this could get us a push to VWAP and get us a little bit more excitement before market open. And it just didn't happen from there too. So I cut another little 4-cent loss on that one, 304 to like $3. I was cutting it as it was peeling back under there. And of course it did fall off right into market open there. And knowing the whole time too, in reality, I do think in market hours, it's going to push a price higher than what I'm selling it here. But that's not the trade thesis that I was pushing on this one for the pre-market there too. It's just a choppy game in market hours, for this being pretty much the biggest mover on the day, with not a lot of other opportunity out there for retail traders to get intrigued in. You got a lot of eyeballs on both sides looking at this one. It can just get super sketchy and just frustrating on both sides of, okay, we're choppy within these first few minutes here. Okay, now we're spiking hard. Now we're peeling back below VWAP. Now it's spiking up to the upside again. A little bit of curl here. Oh, we got a nice new high of day. And go on and on that way of, it's just a little bit too much headache that I'm willing to take on. I think there's other opportunities with not anywhere near the liquidity that this one had, but enough liquidity for where I'm at to be intrigued upon, that I can put my attention there compared to this one. And this was a great reminder too, that had I been still holding my position, whatever, less than half of my position I would have still been holding after this exit here, that would have been scaling out. I probably maybe would have taken off a little bit here in this rejection, and again at level 3, and had barely, maybe 10, not even 20% of my initial position on into market hours off of that same thesis that, I think market hours is going to produce something at least higher than what we're trading at now at some point. But a great reminder on this one too, that do not set stops, because if I was, watching it sell off into market open and thinking, okay, well, I'll put a stop at 2.8. I could see myself just doing that arbitrarily and so stupidly, how quickly it would have just like wicked me out because of the morning volatility, that first minute volatility, and then immediately started this little grind back to VWAP, how I would have screwed myself over in that sell trade. So great reminder with that too, of even though I wasn't in the trade and I didn't really experience that, of acknowledging that again too, that within that first minute of volatility, do not be putting stops. That was GRTX SGMA. Talk about now. Third day surge play. So we got 3, again, it's a 3-4 million-ish floater. They do not have a lot of crazy outstanding shares, but they do have negative cash flow. So always be wary of any dilution that could thrust upon the market at any point that way. Coming into this one, I was in pre-market. The plan for me was, okay, if we get it's holding decently well here, looking at the daily as well too, a definite third day surge pattern with huge volume on that first green day. After that little rest day, had some little excitement right after the morning session, but nothing crazy to dilute is the word I want best to use any excitement or involvement in the stock to preemptively get people out that way. But anyway, the plan coming into this one, for what I was thinking, okay, if we get a dump out of market open and it just continues to fall off, that's going to be a good sign for me to get long. I want to be buying almost when it looks so bleak that it could reverse, in the same light that it did yesterday of, it had a little perk here within the first 3 minutes, and then it was just kind of like blah, whatever. Almost when it did have a little bit of a double bottom, you could call it that, but certainly when it looks the most weak, I could see this thing squeezing very nicely. It was short sale restricted as well too, and with that super low float, man, it could have been very, very nice squeezing some of these shorts that were trying to get an easy little pull down there off of it dumping within that first few minutes of market open. So that was planned. If it dumped immediately out of the gate and showed any weak price action, I would want to be scaling into that on the long side. If we got any perk out of the gate, I would be looking to short into that and then potentially even be scaling out of that short as it was breaking to new lower days, but then be looking to see if it did have any reversal or basing that same way too, that, hey, we could see a little bit more upside even after that short opportunity. So that was, for me, the plan coming into this one, that I was just trying to predict the future, developing that chart in my head too, to play off of before it even happened that way. And we kind of got it. I got a very nice, this was all paper, of course, through TradingView. Able to get 14.25 as it's perking there for the shorts. Drops immediately. Huge spread on this one, and just not a lot of, let's see what the dollar volume on this one will stay. $72 million volume, but even as the after hours is showing here, just bleak and miserable. Especially the volume. You can see today, huge drop off in volume compared to these previous 2 days as well. So just unfortunate in that way. Huge spread with that. Good to be, as it's going down and working in our favor with that lack of spread, covering right away as it's about right at this low a day here with the first, I think that was a half of cover. It was half a cover here as it just dropped off immediately for how quick it was moving there. Okay, I'll take money as it's there, not when I have to. It does whatever it wants to, and then breaks to 13. I'm able to get filled at that whole dollar level for the rest of that position. So nice, decent little trade, not 10%, but decent little move there for just kind of quick and easy, following along similar to that plan, and then keeping that same frame of reference in mind of be mindful of any perk. It did have this little attempt above VWAP that got rejected with decent-ish volume, but so, maybe we do get some fake outs here. That's what I was thinking with this one again, this little attempt here, and I did have a red candle that had greater volume than that previous candle. Let's get the scale to more in our favor here, how it was looking intra-trade. But decent volume there that wasn't, in my mind, a spike and then a rest minute candle following that would normally indicate to me, okay, we're going to get another spike here because it's going to the upside on this one. Okay, I didn't lie, actually. I was looking at the wrong candle. That's what we're looking at. The perk above VWAP, that's, okay, what are we going to develop here? We just, within this candle here, we tried to do that same thing, but it got slapped down super hard. What are we going to do there? It's actually putting in huge volume. So I'm saying, man, if we start pressing this candle high, I think we could see some nice little technical levels hit for this candle this high, and then candle of high of day market hours as well, too, the same thing. So we do start to break that high. I get along there. Alongside that, we press on to double top there on that candle. I'm thinking, gosh, I don't think the volume's there. I just don't think the activity or excitement is here on this one. I'm going to start taking off a little bit, scaling out at 14.2, and then it starts breaking hard, starts coming back to my entry price. I'm going, okay, well, I think that was the sentiment for the day. I think and especially with the slippage that was happening for how fast this thing could move, I was thinking, man, this thing could be at $13 again before I even blink. So I'll take profits as they come and as they're there. And sure enough, it does hold that level pretty well. And continues to put on a new high of day to 15.2, but that was it. You got to be precise and on it in order to get that price there. And that was just all she wrote for the day of opportunity of surge for that move on the day. It had a greater move on the second day. It goes into a halt on the second day there. But yeah, I think that is all I wanted to talk about. I mentioned like 9.55 here was the reason that I wanted to stay away long, of just how it was looking at this candle here, of how we get another attempt that's trying to reclaim VWAP, and okay, we're looking nice, and then it's at 13.4, and then dropping down. It stayed at the bottom here, like 13.07 for a long time. I was like, yeah, that's why I'm not going long right now. That's just a crazy slippage, and not something I want to be a part of that way. Just how frustrating of a stock it would have been trying to play this holding long, just going off of the thesis of not even carrying a short, shorting that morning spike, but just totally looking at this one solely as a long, and okay, establishing a position here. Somehow you get a nice entry under VWAP and play that actual trade, and then trying to hold through all of this and picking a reasonable top there. Man, how frustrating that would have been to kind of have just a sucky, wet, falling apart paper chart in your hands. I certainly would have been frustrated that way, but that's the great thing about this paper trading. What the perspective I'm in right now is I can be open to all and every perspective, and attaching yourself to one paradigm is just death in this field. So continuing to allow myself to grow that way as well too, to open myself up to all perspectives, what fits best with my personality. I totally love that aspect of everything that I'm doing right now for trades themselves. EFOI I'll get into now. This was a kind of failed offering dump reversal. So they got a $4.5 million private placement today. I mentioned this one yesterday, that's a negative cash flow company. It's a $4 million floater, very low floater. And they also I mentioned yesterday too, their schedule that they normally put out S3s, or this past year, they put out an S3 every 6 months, start of the year, halfway through the year in June. And then obviously, look, I can put the dots together, 1, 2, 3. We're in the 12th end month of the year. Sure enough, they put out that $4.5 million in the same range that they did with those first two as well. And you get a hard sell-off after the nice day it did yesterday. Hard sell-off immediately after that comes out, but then it's not continuing to die off. And it wasn't a huge amount of volume on that initial 1 minute candle, and it wasn't a huge amount of volume on that VWAP rejection either. Compared to, looking at that even on a 5 minute scale too, compared to anything it did these past few days, just not a lot of volume. So this long trade thesis that I've done a few times in the past of these ones that will spike even after they have the offering, because so many shorts are just easily getting in of like, oh sweet, easy ride down, easiest trade confirmation ever, put out an offering, just get short at any point. Well, then they end up getting screwed because they're not respecting price, and they're not realizing that everybody and their grandma is also short on the same thesis that, well, it's got to go down, right? Because they put out an offering. That's just what these things do. Didn't happen on this one today. So thought I was getting an entry here. I thought volume was building a little bit. Definitely playing off of the idea that, okay, now as we're above not only VWAP, not only that $4 whole dollar level area, we're also closing in upon everybody who would have been short here in this candle, if there was a lot of volume on that candle, would have been underwater at this point. So then forcing an even more panic of covering that would have been squeezing this thing. It just was not there, and not a lot of dollar volume today. Let's check for what it did. I'm surprised it'd be $11 million that I'm showing here. Just not a lot, especially compared to that first green day. But it's still holding this range, still not dead, not completely died off. So maybe something crazy could still happen, and still in that, still basing where I traded it initially long yesterday as well too, off of that same thesis of how it was holding this little 3.2 to 3.4 range. Still kind of holding nicely there. It's actually above it here in the after hours as well. So we'll see if it wants to do anything more there that way. And I was trying to scale in with a smaller position size for the trade itself as it was pressing here, and of course how wide and stupid the spread was there. But I had my time and force on day still, so I just thought my order was too small, and like I wasn't getting filled because it was just so wide of a spread, and just that lackluster being able to get filled that way. Then I was like, oh, freaking stupid. That's my time and force it's not putting my order in. It's waiting till market hours to put that order in. So then I got filled immediately pretty much at the top as I was pushing by the ask, as I thought it was just going to keep sprinting away from me at 405. So that was kind of a stupid fill, but wrong trade thesis on that one anyway. That just didn't work out. Move on to the next one. That is all my traders on the day. I'll mention AXXA. Nice little OTC continuation, not necessarily a second day, kind of in this multi-day run here, but very nice volume and percentage move that I had yesterday, respecting beautifully red to green level, has a gap up, base is off of 6, 7-ish here, around there, gets bought back up pretty nicely, but then has a little bit of a pullback to VWAP, but then does have a breakout, and so many times in here I was thinking, okay, well I could get long, I could see this going 10% here from this entry, and then it holds and it does that, and then same thing of, well, I could see myself getting an entry here, I could see it going 10%. Sure enough, it goes 10% from there too. So how many little FOMO events happen like that, but how many times I've been through that before too, that I don't feel I need to act upon it, and that it does not affect me mentally whatsoever. I knew I didn't really want to play this one anyway to begin with. I just wanted to watch it. For me right now to wanting to trade smaller position size and knowing that OTC fees just kind of eat up a lot of that learning process that I'm still learning from it right now. And especially OTCs are kind of hot. We get some movers like this, but it's not like you need to be trading OTCs right now. So yeah, just educational watch on this one today. and then starts to panic, doesn't fall off, or does start to fall off. We get like a fake out VWAP bounce here that I think brings in a lot more longs to panic this thing down, but still not a panic dip buy. And it's just how we get this huge volume surge at the bottom of this as it's still green on the day, not panicking. It does end up producing a nice little 10%. We reclaimed a VWAP and put in a little bit more after that. That's a tough one to buy. The same thing too of I can see you and identify that you're turning here and it's putting in a big amount of volume, but you're not a panic dip buy. We just not seen a good, true, hard panic dip buy in a long, long time. I just try to, and on the daily, these things just look so awesome. You're like, oh, that's a sweet parabolic move. You can see the volume coming in on these specific days. This is the first red day. This is obviously the peak here. Offered a little sell off there, but it's just not. Looking at the intraday, it's just harder to trade. It's not a true, in a sense of the long side today. I could totally see that trade. On the front side of continuation as it's respecting red to green, trading off of that, I could totally see that trade. But trying to dip buy is still being long. Man, go kiss your grandma or something. Do something else other than being that. Crazy. I could totally, and I wrote in my journal here too, at this 8.6 level as it was topping here. For some reason, I could totally feel Tim Sykes selling here, putting the order. Okay, yeah, taking profits at 8.6, and then sure enough, that was kind of the top there. So yeah, I wasn't trading it. Obviously, I didn't have skin in the game, but yeah, I could just kind of feel the top there at 8.6. So funny to see, great to see, interesting to see that. Still following along that, identifying those tops like that. CSCW wanted to mention a nice little sub-dollar morning dumper. Identifying the pattern of, they spiked off of some nice Navy news. This one's got a huge gap down as well, or a huge downtrending daily that we'd love to see. Bigger float on this boy. Lots of warrants and a shelf out there but it could overtake that float pretty easily. Only like 67 million that you would need to control that float. So any one specific fund or a big player could control the float, is what I'm trying to say on this one. So not necessarily going off of the thesis of, oh, it's a high float, it's not going to squeeze. It could get overtaken pretty easily that way because of all that outstanding and opportunity to control that. They'd have 158 million outstanding shares. Just kind of ridiculous and crazy. News catalyst today. Oh, this was news catalyst today with Alibaba. Mind was the Navy catalyst. Very nice percentage move there. Still sub-dollar. Of course, I can't trade it or short it through my trade zero as of right now. So still, even though I'm all paper, still kind of coming along that thesis for where I'm at right now of, okay, I know I can't short it because it is sub-dollar, but still see if that sentiment is there. And if these sub-dollar shorts start working out a lot more, then okay, we got to figure out a way to start getting short these or move to a different broker that way. But yeah, good recognition of that. Good chart to keep in the playbook that, okay, these type of patterns still do work out. That's a nice, awesome trade. That definitely fits my personality. Getting short here at the entry of VWAP, the failure to maintain VWAP, and sitting along nice for the slide down. It's just straight up and straight down. Chart I like to see. And then MIND, yes, this was the Navy news catalyst. And I just wanted to mention on this one I totally was in this one or had this one on the scanner yesterday looking at it going, I think we see this is one of those going to be nice little faders that just continues to downtrend all the rest of pre-market and all the rest of the day. It had a little bit of curl here into the close, but it totally did that. And I don't want to say it's frustrating for me, but it's just kind of reassuring and cool to see that, sweet, it's doing exactly that. Now, how do I play that? Is the risk reward worth it to me in this situation, in the state I'm into, to be willing to hold those overnight shares, to pay those extra fees, and to be willing to risk, just shorting overnight and be handcuffing myself to, okay, market gods, you do whatever you want to do. I cannot be up at 2 a.m. by the time frame I'm at to be up at pre-market to see what it's trading at, to be able to do it that way too. So tough for me to say that, okay, yeah, I'm identifying the pattern of what it's going to do, but do I want to be willing to stick my hand in that fire and kind of roll the dice, if you will, with that, to be kind of playing off of that thesis that I'm recognizing that pattern that's there. But even at that too, even in market hours, you do get a nice little VWAP rejection or morning spike, you want to call it, volume exhaustion. even taking it from 1.7 down to a bottom here, 1.52. Awesome little percentage trade. Awesome little move there. I didn't check borrow fees just for funsies to see what they were at. But SGMA, they were not crazy at all. Borrow fees were not expensive. So going through the process and rigmarole that way. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do on this one, just for the practice, as always, that way. Those are all the charts I wanted to mention. Really, all I've got right now, I should have mentioned this in your introduction too, but man, pulling up the scanner, the mover scanner that I have at the end of the day here, I'm only seeing like 18 compared to when these past Tuesdays or just any trading day too. I'm only seeing like in the hundreds or close to 100 of them on the scanner that are over, they have over 1,000 trades, or they're moving over like $1 million on the day, and they're up like 10% of those. Man, I'm only seeing like 18 of them on the day. It's just unfortunate to see. So blue, third day surge going into tomorrow. Going to be playing kind of on a similar thesis that I played SGMA today. This one has a little bit of a gap up today, and it is a bigger float than SGMA, 50 million float. And it also did, I have to respect the fake outs that this one does have, and especially that faked out Chris on that first screen day, that he was playing this little double bottom dip and rip style of trade that way. That stupid little fake out, and how many times it did that in this little consolidation as well. So I might have to be able to respect that and put my risk tolerance a little bit wider if I'm going to actually trade it to the long side. But kind of as of right now, still kind of same thesis of if we get an immediate little morning spike, might be looking to get short into that and put in a quick cover, kind of like this too, if we're getting any amount of pullback, or if VWAP's around there the same way, and then still be looking, hey, could be some life in this one. Any lingering shorts or just eager, not so much eager shorts, but just too bag holding, too reluctant to give up, that monkey who's got the fish in the rock, whatever, that can't pull its hand out, that type of short. I think that's butchered, that example, but that's the picture that I view. They're just unwilling to give it up. This thing is supposed to die, and then they end up getting squeezed that way. So be looking for that way. The same thing that we did on SGMA today. Great learning lessons. Still loving this every single day, and loving just being able to do this whole video recap thing too, this video journaling, getting my ideas out there quicker and easier than I would be of writing it down, and more expansive than I would be writing them down as well too, and just pushing myself harder to go on the fundamentals and the technical side of it and look at what these charts are saying too. I absolutely love it. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.